Good morning, everyone. What I want to do this morning is I want to moderate the discussion with the panelists over here, and I want to put some discussion points forward. So, for those of you who were not here yesterday, I showed that the global market is growing by about $1 billion per year. We're seeing high growth here in Asia, but the market is still very small. It's only 3% of global sales. And the question I raised yesterday was, we've got 60% of the world population here, 22% of global cosmetic sales, but the market share of just 3% in natural and organic cosmetic sales. But what I want to ask today is, what can we do to grow the Asian market? Now, yesterday I covered the marketing issues, I covered standards. I want to also cover the technical issues. What about the formulation issues, raw materials, technical issues when you're developing these products? So what we're going to do is we're going to have a discussion, an interactive discussion on these points. So I'm going to start with the first question. What do you think are the challenges here in Asia when we're talking about formulating or developing natural and organic cosmetics? And we'll start with Jarek, from your opinion.
One of the most important aspects on the Asian cosmetic market is the aspect of the quality. In the aspect of raw materials represented by our company, which are vegetable, plants and oils, it is in fact overcoming the bad name of the raw materials, which had been caused by the use of food-grade products, which are certainly usable in the food care industry, although not really applicable in the cosmetic products. Vegetable fats and oils used as the natural compounds had been blamed for the deterioration and poor quality of the cosmetic on the long term. What we see is our challenge is to overcome this aspect, offer the products with the cosmetic tailored qualities, long shelf life, and at the same time functionalities. In the aspect of the organic and natural standards, it is especially difficult because we can definitely deliver the fantastic products with the defined functionalities, although it requires a certain modern technologies which are not included or not allowed in the frames of the standards.
Okay, just one point there, clarification. You said that they're not using the right ingredients, they're using food-grade ingredients as opposed to cosmetic grade. Is it because they're going to ingredient suppliers which supply food ingredients, raw material, and they're not going to cosmetic ingredient suppliers? Is that one of the issues?
I don't really think so. I think it is just a matter of the availability and traditional use, just simply a translation straightforward from the fact that the raw materials which used to be fine for the consumption shall be fine for the use in the cosmetic applications, which is not really the case. Cosmetic standards, cosmetic quality aspects require the high purity and quality, allowing, for example, to produce the products with the at least 24 to 36 months shelf life, with actually is not really possible in the aspect of the vegetable lipids to do it with the qualities which are offered by the food grade raw materials. So that is indeed one of the challenge to, in a kind of way, educate the producers of the cosmetics, thus to use a better quality raw materials, and looking not only onto the aspect of the botanical origin, its uniqueness, but also the quality aspects and the safety of the consumers.
Okay. Jorge, from your opinion, what are the big issues here?
Yeah, I think that one of the big issues is about how to formulate those natural and organic products, because it's not just like, say you have your own formulas, conventional, you have been using those for many years, and then you decide, well, instead of using silicones, we are going to replace silicones with a natural alternative. So that's not actually the way to go, because you just cannot replace an ingredient. There are a lot of implications. So basically you have to formulate from scratch and trying to change your preservative system, how we will behave with those new surfactants or moisturizers that you want to use in your product. And then comes the question about, okay, so this raw material supplier is selling me natural ingredients, but what it means natural? Like, is coming from renewable resources, is just sustainable, is natural because they are using sustainable palm oil, but the manufacturing process is synthetic. So at the end, that particular ingredient will be synthetic. So I think there is a lack of understanding of what is the term natural means. And talking with the raw material suppliers sometimes is not helpful at all. I mean, they cannot explain you, according to the definition, they might say it as, well, it's a green ingredient. Okay, green ingredient, but what it does mean? I mean, it's just because they are reducing the carbon footprint, they're using a new catalyst that is getting a higher yield compared with the previous version of that ingredient. So I think that's probably the starting point, and that's where we are now. I mean, trying to figure out what is natural.
Some very good points. Just to share my experience, yesterday at our stand, we're exhibiting here, I had a couple of people come to our stand and they said, we're a startup, we want to develop a natural cosmetic formulation, and we're here to find ingredients. And I asked them, who are you going to do your formulation? They said, we haven't got anyone, we're here to look at the ingredients. And I think it's a very easy mistake to make. You can't just meet the ingredient suppliers and put the ingredients together. You need the formulator, product developer, who's going to do that for you, who's going to advise you on the ingredients. So there's a real lack of knowledge here. People don't know where to start.
And my opinion here is connected to the former statement, that the quality aspect is one of the challenge, and it's pretty much connected then to the aspect of the safety. If I refer to the group of the products that our company deals with, the vegetable butters and oils, we could consider that the vast majority of our products are natural origin, or they are purely natural. Although if we look upon the biochemical changes of the oil and the quality aspects of those raw materials, we can find that the natural products can, for example, contain high amount of the degradation compounds, aldehydes or free fatty acids, monodiglycerides, which affect at the end the actually function of the skin and may cause more of the damages than actually help at the end of the day. Because, for example, increase the permeability of the stratum corneum and actually give the higher exposure to the environmental stress. So absolutely, that is one of the aspects, and I think one of the challenges which is connected furthermore to the standards and the technical availabilities in the production of the cosmetic compounds.
Okay, Joanne, do you want to give your views?
It'll always come back down to the consumer's perception, and the consumer's perception is they do not want to read 16 letter syllables. They want to be able to read their ingredients, and they're entitled to do that. Certified organic is a process from seed to sale. It's non-GMO, no animal testings. It's got, sensories behind it that the consumer wants. Do I think that it can't happen in certified organic? Well, we're all here and we all know that it can happen. There's brands around the world that are formulating to 95%. Sure, we may not be able to have the shampoos and conditioners and all the other varieties, and no one believes that they can live in an all-organic world. But I guess the certified organic has helped benchmark and allowed innovation to happen in areas that was never going to happen. In fact, most certification bodies around the world wanted to drop their cosmetic standards, USDA and Australia. Farmers believe that agriculture is food-based, not cosmetic-based, but soon they were able to realise that actually it's the process, and processing a product in its purest form is what the consumer wants.
Okay, we have another question here. If we can bring the mic forward.
Hi, this is again connected to natural ingredients. When you put a lot of natural ingredients, how can we retain this shelf life? Because when there's more natural ingredients, you have to avoid putting, I mean, if you go by the rule, if it is natural, if it is organic, then we cannot have preservatives in the formulation. So how can we overcome shelf life? How can we retain the shelf life at least for 24 months? This is the biggest problem that we have, because the more natural ingredients you put, then there is a possibility of the shelf life going down.
Yeah, of course there is natural preservatives that you can use. Sometimes it's also about getting multifunctional ingredients that they might have antimicrobial properties, so you can combine those into your products. Also packaging actually is quite important. You can use like airless packaging materials that can help you to extend the shelf life, and the manufacturing process itself. I mean, in which conditions, in which hygiene conditions are you manufacturing that cosmetic? I mean, if you are close to a pharmaceutical manufacturing grade, I mean, you are going the chance to get isolation of that product, so also you can extend the shelf life. So there are many factors that can help you actually to not be so much dependent of preservative.
We're going to move on to the next point now, standards. So yesterday I covered standards in my seminar, saying that we're seeing 30 standards now globally, but none in Asia. And as an Asian company, you don't have much options. If you want to take the certification route, you have to go to Australia, you have to go to Europe, or you have to go to EcoCert, which has offices in Asia, or you have to go to North America. So how can we overcome these standard issues? What can we do to make it easier for Asian companies to get their products or raw materials certified? Maybe we can start with Jarek.
The aspect of the standards and the connections to the raw materials is pretty much straightforward, connected to the processes which have different allowances or limitations in the particular ones. So I think that a certain agreement, overall global agreement on the aspect of the processes, technologies which can be implemented into the natural organic products could make our life much easier and could actually allow us to certify in a broader range of the standards, which would give the benefits to the consumers at the end of the day. At the current state, the matter of the standardization, it's not really our, let's say, approach to the standard and lifting up that one or another is more important or more widespread. In fact, every standard and compliance require a certain manpower, workload, and considering really a tiny differences between the standards sometimes causes actually our choice. Let's go for one or another, and then as the result, we have the limitations of, for example, acceptance in Australia or New Zealand and the ASEAN region in general, and focusing or favoring, in this case, the customers in Europe and United States.
Okay. And Jorge, you want to give the brand's perspective or your own experiences there?
Yeah, we are based in Japan, and in Japan there is actually two standards for organic and natural cosmetics, but we are not really interested on those. I mean, I think as a company, what you want is a standard that is worldwide recognized. So where you are actually exporting or selling your products to the market, you will get some sort of recognition of that naturalness and organic. So right now is basically European. The standards, I think that what the companies they are following. So again, it's about choosing a standard that meets your need in terms of formulation, what sort of like preservatives they allow. It's easy actually to get ingredients validated by those certification bodies or under those standards. So I think that's the crucial point.
Over to Joanne.
Again, it comes back down to where you're going to, what market you're going into. Australian Certified Organic certifies in 16 countries. We're not a country of origin certification body. We are a highly rigorous, competitive standard. And like the USDA, if you want to use that as an analogy, just because it has a USDA logo on it does not mean it's made in the US. So we need to open our minds up to be a little bit more globally thinking. Australia has a fantastic relationship with Asia. The Asian consumer trusts, products that are certified under certain standards around the world. Australia is one of them. So it comes back down again to that consumer perception. We understand there's trade barriers with certain countries, and we're seeing our clients overcome them in many ways, whether that's online stores at Alibaba or JD Mall in China or however it might be. It's all about the marketing message, the story behind the brand, and again, Australian Certified Organic offers the Cosmos certification, so flexibility in formulating, preserving with more available ingredients and so forth.
Hello, my name is Richard. I'm from New Zealand. I guess one of the issues I see with certification, there's a lot of certification bodies certifying the same sort of thing, but they've all got different exceptions. Preservatives, GE, surfactants, and different markets, as you said, require different certifications. There's not one size that fits all. And to me, that's a big problem.
Harmonisation, which is a very big issue. I think this echoes what Jarek said. Anyone want to give their views? Maybe we'll take a quick response so we can have some more discussions. Joanne?
For instance, in Australia, it's grown dramatically over the last 5 years domestically there. Australian Certified Organic logo sits on about 80% of the products that are certified. Very few products are imported, as in lots of raw ingredients are imported, but the end product's certified mainly with ACO. Our exports grew 40% last year. I think you just really need to know the market you're going into. I believe that the Cosmos certification has created a lot of harmony inside formulators' minds. I just think it really just depends where you're going next.
I'll just add a quick point to that. In my seminar yesterday, I talked about this multiple logos which are coming out in the natural organic cosmetics market, and some say ISO may be the solution. ISO is actually developing a standard for natural organic cosmetics. However, the concern from the industry is that the standard may be a weak standard, which is going to add more issues. If you have a very weak baseline and then countries start adopting that as a national standard, that could create even more problems. So there are moves to develop one standard, but the issue is it going to be a strong standard or a weak standard? Anyone else want to give their views there about standards?
Hello, my name is Sunan from TCFF, Thai China Fragrance Fragrance. Some of our customers in Thailand mainly produce the product and would like to export. And nowadays, the trend of the organics product is coming more and more. The main country that they export is China. So maybe you could share us about the China market and the standard that people are looking for. Thank you.
The problem in China is that the organic term, it's not registered for cosmetics. So even if you want to sell a certified organic product into China, you just cannot do it because it's not registered. So the only claim that is allowed, it will be natural, but still with natural, there are certain claims that they don't allow because it's too close with the organic term. So there is a trend in China for those natural and organic products, but usually it's not direct sell. You have to go through different sales channels to get your products into China. So it's a tricky question. It's not easy actually to get your organic raw materials into China.
Hi, my name is Talaki from New Zealand, Kim Colour Industries and ingredient supplier. I guess together with Richard, I'm a bit frustrated in New Zealand in terms of, the standards and, there's no one set standard. When I look at China and see that China has this organic standard and it's come from the food side, I've got a bit of an issue as a supplier in New Zealand in that we adapt a standard called BioGrow Now, the BioGrow standard in New Zealand has come from the food side and is very, very strict in what they require from us as a supplier. So, for example, I'll just give you a couple of examples. They would want us as a supplier to supply a specification dated 12 months every single year. Now, if we as a supplier representing multinational suppliers, manufacturers, there's no such thing as a change in a spec every single year or supplying a GMO-free standard every single year or something like that. Those standards are set, so they don't change. Yet BioGrow, because it's come from a food perspective, are requiring all these changes all the time, all the changes, and our manufacturers are sick and tired of us asking for, updated specs every single year. So that's an issue there that we have in New Zealand with this particular standard that I can see. When I look at China, I wonder whether there is an opportunity to bridge that gap. I mean, ISO sounds good to me. I know it might sound loose, but whether it's an ISO standard and then the China organic standard and then there's something maybe in between, I don't know.
Okay. We'll talk about marketing now. Now, in my seminar yesterday, I talked about the marketing issues. There's so many issues here: distribution, consumer education, mislabeling, etc. I don't want to cover all of that again, but we'll go through the panelists, and if you can tell us your views, what are the issues when you're going to be marketing natural organic cosmetics, in the case for you two, but in your case, natural organic ingredients? What are some of the issues that you face when you're marketing them here in Asia?
In general perspective, we try to avoid short-term marketing terms which would exist on a very limited time. We try to focus on the aspects of the raw materials and their functionalities to lift up either the biological effects or sensorial effects. We try to avoid the botanicals in the aspect of the regional aspect, regional origin, and focusing that as a major term. So for us, as the ingredient producer, it is again the aspect of the available tools to deliver those aspects. For example, the aspect of the bioactivity require the concentration or the separation, isolation of the specific compounds of the biological raw materials, unsaponifiables, flavonoids, various other compounds, and again, it's a matter connected pretty much to the standardization and the available processing. The same aspect is in the sensory. In the beginning of the growth of the organic natural cosmetics, we had been dealing with the relatively narrow panel of the sensory of the cosmetic products, which had been classified pretty much as the relatively heavy and unpleasant, and then not really accepted by the broad range of the consumers. So in our perspective, again, is trying to find the solutions in a similar manner as Jorge had mentioned earlier, to deliver the functionalities which would connect this traditional feel or the requirements of the cosmetics and linking them to the natural and organic standards. Again, a problem. We have plenty of the possibilities and tools, and we cannot, unfortunately, always use them. They are available, but unfortunately, because of the restrictions on the technologies allowed, we cannot always deliver that. So either there are two possible aspects. Either there is a step forward with in the standardization side, or the change in the forms of the cosmetic products. It's something like, instead of creating the vegetarian food, which will pretend the standard food, creating something what will be a beauty in itself, but not completely disconnected from that what we use or the methods how we use currently.
I think that if you plan to use a standard or a certification that is very well recognized in a particular country, then marketing is very easy. I mean, you just put the logo, and the consumers know that that logo, basically they know what it means, or that the product is safe, or it's organic, natural, so no problem. But as we have seen today, I mean, it's very fragmented, particularly in Asia. There are so many standards, so many certifications, so it's difficult actually for a consumer to understand what are those marketing advantages. So in that case, I think marketing have a really tough job to actually communicate on what is your message, what is your natural message. So it's about getting into your website, explaining the reason of the ingredient that you choose in your product, what are the functions of those ingredients. And sometimes when you see companies that they are using like 20 different botanical extracts, so as a consumer, I mean, it's difficult to understand, I mean, if there is any reason to use 20 botanical extracts, or if they have actually any function at all, or it's just a greenwashing claim to say, well, we are using this 20 extract and it's very good product. I think at the end it's about communicate, okay, we are using this natural derived surfactant, we are using this natural preservative, we are using this botanical extract because we know they have this function. So I think marketing in that case have to be very close with the formulation department and try to get the message through the consumer.
Yet to see a cosmetic company with inside the certified organic category create a fantastic culture within their brand out to the marketplace anywhere. I think if I was going to say that not that they're organic or whatever, but the Jolique of the day does not exist yet. And there's a great opportunity for that. There's a huge amount of brands in the marketplace. One of the strategies, the pull-throughs that I see that major supermarkets use is they will not market the features and benefits of certified organic inside their store. They won't say, this has got no GMO in their fruit and vegetables and so forth. They won't do that. What they do is they create the social networks outside the business. So I really do think that the culture of a certified organic end product is still not being conquered. And that's nothing to do with the standards. That's nothing to do with the availability of raw ingredients. That's just purely maybe the formulated and understanding market penetration. So that's my opinion.
Just one point there. One of the brands we've seen which is doing a really good job in marketing is Jasmine Skincare. And they've done tremendously well in China.
They would be the closest Jolique of the day, but they still haven't penetrated the market in Australia. In Asia, fine. You know, they have farms in Japan, but Jasmine Skincare is like a lifestyle farm, and they have all of the products being formulated on site. They have spas in Japan and farms in Japan, and you know, they're an amazing story yet to be told. But social media is your tool. I mean, you know, the other side of it too is one thing that Jasmine have done exceptionally well is they haven't forgotten the packaging. You can have the most fantastic ingredient in your product, but if your pump doesn't work, I am sorry, a consumer is not going to repurchase. And we measure our success on our consumers' research. You measure your success on your consumer buying again and again and again. So your packaging is really, really important.
I understand that when you have a certification that says something is organic, that the actual percentage can vary from country to country, and what is not is less than that. What are people getting away with putting in that product?
Well, I think that it's not like each country they have their own like way to go. I mean, I think it's different standards. So different standards, they have different ways actually to calculate that organic percentage. And it's a bit of what I said at the beginning. When you're a formulator, I mean, you have to take a look to the standard and see which one is going to meet your formulation needs. I mean, like, it will be under that standard easy to get a particular surfactant. It will be easy or difficult to achieve a certain organic percentage. Do you want to use a food standard to get your cosmetics product certified? Or you want to use a pure organic natural cosmetics standard to get that it will give you more flexibility on terms of formulation. So I think that you have many choices there that you need to do at the very beginning of your product development.
I think also, just to build on what Jorge has mentioned, that there is different standards calculate in different ways. Some, have the water and salt phase included, some don't. So, it really just becomes, once again, the standard that you're most comfortable working with. And when you narrow it down, I know you mentioned there's 30, but when you actually narrow it down to ones that the companies that you really want to work with, to the market that you're wanting to go into, I think you'd probably drop that down to maybe 10. So, yeah.
Yeah, hi, I'm Rupa, and I'm visiting from Singapore, and this is more like an education for me. We are not there yet. But I needed to know, what role does ethical sourcing of natural or organic ingredients play in the overall marketing or the standardization or the certification of a cosmetic product?
Indeed, that is one of the aspects which we try to connect with the character of the raw materials, and we take it as the part of the overall holistic approach to the sustainability. We just try to involve the aspects of the natural origin, renewability, biodegradability, and as well trying to include also the aspect of the social responsibility. We succeeded that with the program in West Africa, when we involved large groups of women into the program of the direct sourcing and financial supporting of them, and that had become a part of the program of AK. It is certainly a need of expanding such a programs across the broadest range of the raw materials, and engaging not only us as the part of the industry, but also the consumers in this way as the natural element of the supporting the local developments. So yes, it happens, but there is a huge, huge space to grow.
Probably just to add on to that, you can download the Australian Certified Organic Standard, and you can actually read about the social and environmental clauses within inside there that we do look at under the iPhone standard. So that's just not something else to look at.
I actually have a question. And it's related with this sustainable and ethical sourcing of ingredients. We have the Nagoya Protocol now. So I would like to know, probably from a raw materials perspective, where we are to with this implementation of the Nagoya Protocol. Like countries, I know that New Zealand and South Africa, Brazil, they have already started. So from a raw material supplier perspective, how it's going to affect?
For the sake of the audience, the Nagoya Protocol, we're talking about access and benefit sharing of biodiversity or genetic resources.
Yeah.
So, Jared.
In our case, in the majority cases, we actually have a little bit easier work, as we just use the raw materials while growing, not really cultivated raw materials, with some of the exceptions. But naturally, we looked at very very seriously, since we are not the local supplier, but a global one. So absolutely, we go into the alliances and look into the possibility of sharing the data. Together to overcome the burden of the manpower, the costs.
Okay, who wants to add to the discussion? We're at others now, so.
Although people who are actively looking for organic and natural skincare can find the right certifications, I think there's a lot of confusion over brands who might say contains organic tamanu or contains one organic ingredient, and I find that quite misleading, and I want to know, are you actively, or are the certifiers actively doing anything about that?
Quite frustrating area in Australia. It's great if you're selling into China, you can't use the word organic unless it is certified, and cosmetics are outside that anyway. In the US, they have standards around the use, and it's legislated the use of the word organic. In Australia, we don't have that. We can have products that blatantly say organic on there, and there is no rules and regulations. If they choose to use the word certified organic, that's when they would be considered, crossing paths. So that use of the word is going to take an extraordinarily long time to weed out the greenwashing. But it is a really big one that consumers are looking at, remembering that most consumers can turn a package over and read it, and they've moved past the point of trusting brands. And I think that's probably one thing that you can't, you can't keep conning yourself. Yes, you will have the naive consumer and you might go for volume industries and so forth, but at the end of the day, specifications have been put into place with the likes of, say, our domestic Woolworths and Coles, who are starting to look at anything that claims around organic. They're wanting to basically say, if you're not certified, I'm sorry, you can't use that claim. So our governments aren't doing anything about it, but we've lobbied with our major supermarkets, and both of them have, 900, 1,000 stores each. So it's a big deal for us.
Anyone else want to add to the discussion before we wind down? Okay, final points from the panelists. So we've heard from Joanne. Do you want to give a final point, Jorge and Jarek?
I think that at the end, and that's the reason that probably all of you are here, is about trying to develop that natural and organic. I think there are many ways actually to achieve that. I mean, you can just start to try to formulate like more renewable or more sustainable products using different ingredients. You can choose, I think, the certification pathway and try to get like a standard that you actually can easily comply with. But I think that at the end, I mean, what the consumers want and also what we want as manufacturers is to be in that sustainable space. I mean, I think that's probably the more important message.
I think the aspect of the natural, organic cosmetics is the secondary aspect in a certain regions. And I think the way to overcome that is to implement, first of all, the functionalities, aesthetics, which will be accepted by the consumers, and then by that pulling them by the use of the natural organic products in itself, just like a natural step. Not really focusing on the one and only angle of this group of the cosmetic application products, but just taking that as the integral element.
Okay, we're going to have to close the discussion. Thank you for that very lively discussion.